What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Engineers Without Filters podcast, episode 152. And we're back for round 2 of the 2022 bullshit bracket. A lot of twos today. Today's topic is track and field turmoil. Trying to find out what is the best track and field event. And before we get into it, I have to do my introduction of all of our players today. In consolation match number 1, our previous champion has already fallen from grace. Can he overcome this hurdle, or will he fall in a dirty puddle? With Steeplechase, Joseph, the grand champ.
All right, you don't need to be rude about it. For one, I already feel bad. All right, but I'm coming back. I reviewed the tape, and I know where I fell short. But I'm drinking some M43 to get me hype about it, so I'm good to go.
Classic. Yeah,
also in my glass, my victory glass.
Champion.
Still glass. Using it.
So. You gotta do it. If you have it, you
gotta flex.
His opponent / roommate also couldn't get past qualifiers last week. Today, we will find out if he's been pumping iron or has pulled a muscle. With Discus throw, Gabe Tillman.
What's going on, guys? I'm drinking water because I gotta pull a muscle later. But excited to go for round 2, see what I can do with Discus.
Yeah. In consolation match number 2. Last week, his arguments couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But this week, can he skewer his target? With javelin throw, Jacob Thompson. Hi, guys. I got a new beer for you today. Upland Brewing, I have not tried before. This is their wheat ale. And it's a nice little beer. I want something a little light and fresh, so we got that going today. His opponent / podcast co-host, quick ad break, go listen to the Red String Movie Podcast every Friday, where me and Perk review a movie. No one was sure what really happened in his match last week, and no one wants to ask. All we do know is that he will always pick something out of left field. With Corgi Racing, Alex Perkins.
Yeah, if it hasn't already been very clear, I just don't respect the rules of this program. So yeah, I'm going with Corgi Racing, and I'm drinking Truly Lemonade.
Very nice. In the semifinal number 1. Last week she won us over with her concise argument on cuteness, but does she have the endurance to go all the way? Representing the marathon, Molly Boswell.
So I'm drinking Run Wild from Athletic Brewing Company because I too have to exercise after this, but I can drink too.
Okay, is that a shot at me, Molly?
A very, very on-brand drink for the day today.
Yeah.
Her opponent secured a narrow victory last week in a photo finish round 1. This week, can she defeat her opponent without even breaking a sweat? With race walking, Emily Widensey.
All right, everybody. In efforts to sport the sport, we're going slow today with some water, and looking forward to a good argument.
Hell yeah. And in semifinal number 2, after a long run of punishment, he appears to be back on top. Today, will he explode off the blocks or suffer a false start? With the 200-meter dash, Dayton Pax.
Yes, hello. Back at it with the same bullshit, Bud Light hard soda. Don't buy it, just buy cheap soda and cheap vodka.
His opponent arrives at the semifinal just barely making it over the bar in round 1. In round 2, does the argument hold weight or will it snap under the pressure? With pole vault, Josh Cole.
Hello. Thank you.
You're welcome, Josh. Josh is coming to us live from a gas station parking lot, so yeah, that's where we're at today. I'll go over the rules one more time for any listeners. There'll be the four matches I just described. Each person will give their opening arguments. There will be followed by a rebuttal period and then questions from the rest of us. After that, the remaining 6 people will give a score of 1 through 10 to each contestant, and the person with the highest average score wins. But enough of all that. Let's get into match number 1, where we have Joseph with Steeplechase versus Gabe with Discus. Joseph, it's all you.
All right, I'm just gonna start. This shit's rigged. Having to go first again. This is fucking bullshit.
If you don't want to go first, you got to win, Joseph. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I tried that. See how well that did for me. All right. So the history of steeplechase starts in 1650. No. So it was a horse. So for people who don't know, steeplechase, most interesting event, IMO, coolest event in track and field. It's a 3,000 meter race involving, 28 barrier jumps. So they're not just hurdles, but they're 3-foot barriers, I believe, and then 7 water jumps. So you actually have to jump through water to get to it. It's kind of neat. Don't see that in any other track event. But it started as a horse race in Ireland between 2 steeples because those were the easiest points of reference to race through, like point to point. And the name actually does not come from that, but because they'd have to use the horses to chase down the wild steeples to get them at the start and finish line and prep for the races. Let's see, and the reason you have to jump over these hurdle or barriers and into these puddles is because obviously during the normal race, there'd be natural features like stone walls, rivers, and because this was in Ireland, there'd be wild leprechauns running around. You had to jump over, so you had to. There are a lot of obstacles in the way. The modern event originates from Oxford University because these scrawny white boys did not want to ride horses, so they figured out they could also do it in a field by digging puddles and setting up some barriers. And it's about a 2-mile event, so it started as 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers. The Olympics in 1900 added it as a 3K event. Unfortunately, it was a little sexist, and women's event was not added, or the 3K women's event was not added until 2008 in Beijing, I believe. So it did take a while to catch up, and they have tried different lengths. There's a youth event where it's 1,000 meters, and they also have a 2,000 meter event. And even when they started, they did like really weird numbers, like 2,590 and I don't know, like 3,500 or so. They're just trying shit out, just seeing what stuck. So it's been an event of trial and error, but they've narrowed it down pretty well. Let's see, so it's actually because they can't just dig up the field or the track. The water jumps have to be inside or outside, so it really fucks with the distance of the track, which is why they had to have different distances rather than easy standard numbers. Plus, the bright side of this race, you're running, you're all tired, tuckered out, and every lap, you get a little quick dip by jumping in the water. So you get a cool off, you get a little refresher as you're going through. And you get rejuvenated, right? You got all these different variables going on, long distance race, so you got to manage your speed. You got these barriers to jump over, so there's an extra physicality aspect to it. And there's a water aspect. So you really run the whole gamut here with variability and skill. So you can't just be a standard runner to be good at this. You gotta really stride high for this. And let's see, there's fucking glare. Yeah, I should have written it down because the sun's coming down, ruining.
Daylight savings time.
Yeah, it really fucked me up. Yeah, that's all the awesome parts of steeplechase. It's a very unique event, and I think it's the coolest. So
there we go. Gabe, your argument.
Hello, gentlemen and gentlewomen. Let's talk about discus. Okay. Discus is a pretty fucking simple sport. You just are hucking a big rock, essentially. But this event, I'm not going to go too much into the history books, but it was originally in the original Olympics, the modern Olympics. So it's an ancient sport, but I think you can make an argument that it kind of goes back to the dawn of humanity. And that's because the monkey brains and humans have always had this innate desire to throw rocks as far as they want. That's just, there's some unexplainable satisfaction throwing a rock as far as you can. And just to get like a visual element of this, I actually have an asset I've prepared. Dayton, if you would like to pull that up to explain, to show
Certainly.
the joy of discus.
It's up now.
Perfect.
oh my god.
So this is the one and only Dayton Packs for you audio listeners. Absolutely hucking a rock. Copper Harbor after a great mountain bike ride. You can put that away, but actually let's let it loop a little bit. And then
all right, we'll let it loop
but,
for a few more times.
This is the spirit of discus right here, is in this video. So it just kind of taps into this like primal desire, and discus toss kind of, or throw, made it a competition. And since its conception, it was just to bring fellow stone huckers together, and have a friendly competition, and it really pushed the sport to get more competitive. And eventually, we hit a point where you didn't think you could huck a rock like any further. They're like, this is the limit of humans. And then this guy by the name of Jan de Suck, that's his last name, took a rip of a fat doobie and studied the ancient Greek statue of Discobolus, which is a statue of a man holding a discus toss, or a discus disc, sorry, and invented the spinny boy. All right. The spinny boy move marries science and higher level brain function with the absolute monkey brain function of just fucking discs. All right. It's just this marriage that allows you to throw rocks that people thought they could never throw as far as they can. And it also looks pretty fucking cool. I've heard spinning is a good trick, so we'll see. Closing arguments here. In a recent poll, 95% of Americans agree that throwing rocks was fun and rad. That's in all caps. And in another study, they found that just hucking one rock with one skippy boy on a pond decreased depression, increased the desire to yell yeet, and drastically improved their hype levels to unprecedented levels. Hype levels. So in closing, I think there's a little discus toss in every human. And I think the world is better off with discus toss in our lives, knowing that there's a sport for throwing some stones.
Well said. Let's go back to Joseph for rebuttal.
All right. Gabe hit on a great point. The discus is the purest form of monkey brain. It is the caveman event. It is the, look, me throw far, you throw not far, me win, right? Just basic bullshit, right? He was right. It was in the original pentathlon Olympics in Greece. And then it fell out of favor because it was boring and dumb, and was not brought back into the Olympics or brought back as a sport until 1870, or the 1870s in Germany, which was 10 years after steeplechase was created, because they were like, damn, Britain's got this cool new sport where they're jumping over fences and into water. We need to bring something cool back to revitalize Germany. Yeah, let's throw some rocks. Not cool, man. It's pretty boring. The world record, men's and women's discus throw, was set in the 80s, and it has not been broken since. I believe you have to go to number 4 to get 2019 was the top throw. So we peaked when we were in the coked out 80s. We can only throw rocks so far, guys. Like, cool. That's about it. Yeah, and it hasn't changed much. You know, some could say that this is the spaghetti of track and field events.
You wrote that down.
I did write that down. I wrote that down while you were in the same room as me, and I wanted to tell you about it, but I couldn't. I couldn't.
Was that from the first season?
No, that was last year.
Okay, I couldn't remember which one it was from. That's good.
Let's see.
This is fighting with the sun once again.
It really chose the wrong monitor for this. My final two statements on this are that we all have, basic understanding of letters, so I won't go into too much detail. Steeplechase starts with an S because it is S tier. Oh. Discus starts with a D because it is dumb and D tier. That is all I have to say.
Wow.
Gabe. Yeah, no, I don't really have super lengthy counter argument, but I'll say a few things. I guess firstly, I feel like his whole counter argument is throwing rocks is lame, and I don't know if I could agree with that. I think throwing rocks is fun as shit, and it's a good time. And in the 80s, that's just when people were doping and shit. Like that's just it's all drugs, baby.
Yeah, they're all cracked out.
Throwing rocks will never go out of style. It's been going on for thousands of years, and I don't think it ever will. And the only other really point I want to make is steeplechase kind of gives me the vibe that it's like the fun run of the Olympics, where it's like people who weren't good enough to be marathon runners are like, well, let's come up with an event I can do. I can jump over a pond. And then they have like B-tier athletes that can compete and get a medal or get a chance of a medal. And that's just kind of the whole vibe I get. Like, could you imagine you're in the Olympic Village and you're hanging out and you're like, what do you do? Like, I throw a rock far. You're like, badass, right? And you ask this other guy, like, oh, what do you do? He's like, I jump over puddles and sometimes slip and fall. like what event is that? Oh, steeplechase. The steeplechase guys kind of they don't hang. That's So that is all I have to say.
All right. Well, let's open up for questions. Molly, go ahead.
All right. So I'm all about yelling yeet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe, for giving the percentage.
Yeah.
What percentage of steeplechasers yell yeet? Jumping over a pond or fence.
It's less of a full, you're a distance runner, you get it, you're not yelling yeet, but with every jump, there's that internal like yeet, let's do this as you're leading up, so it's more of an internal thing rather than an external yeet with that. But I would say it's around low end, 69%, upper end 78%.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If I might ask a question.
Yeah,
I have one for each of you.
Okay,
I'll start with Joseph.
Yeah,
Joseph, there's an episode of this podcast called Joseph Loves Socks.
All right? Yes,
it has been well documented the love you have for socks and quality socks.
Yeah.
Steeplechase, a breeding ground for wet socks, one of the worst phenomenons to ever, be a part of the human existence. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, if you recall said episode, my stance was fresh, brand new socks. So Steeplechase is just a proponent for wearing brand new, crisp, clean socks every time.
Right. All right, that's a good answer. And Gabe,
yeah,
you seem like a big fan of just hucking big, heavy rocks.
Yeet.
I must ask then, why did you pick Discus and not shot put, the event where you throw a heavier rock?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think mainly because I had the video of Dayton throwing a rock like a discus. And secondly, I think it's just, I don't know, they're very similar events, I will say, but I had the video of Dayton, and I think I have more of affiliation with disc shaped stones than I do round ones in my life, and that's where I got the inspiration from.
Show you.
I got a question.
Yes,
go ahead.
I got a question for Gabe.
Yeah.
So I know that you tried to make out discus as like a badass sport. and I don't know, like there's a safety net around it. And do you think safety's badass? Like, I think it would be cooler if somebody would just get hit with the freaking disc if it flung out. Do you agree?
So you're saying like you're throwing at a target, or
yeah, or like
if it goes out of bounds and it hits somebody, that's just par for the course.
Yeah, like what's your opinion on collateral damage? Do you think it's badass or not?
I think it's an interesting question if you're asking about the Olympic event, because javelin has a very similar story where it like killed someone, I believe, and they had to like add more weight to the javelin because they had killed somebody. Which is kind of badass. So I think it depends on like what the audience is looking for. Like if they're looking for collateral damage, it's a good feature. But you know, if you're just going for distance, you know, safety can be badass. You know, helmets are cool and safety is cool, and you know, it's 2022. You know, I think we should accept that.
Thank you. Perk, did you have a question?
Yeah, I got one quick here for Joseph. Joseph, how would you respond to detractors who say that steeplechase was a cynically created tool of the military to trap people by seeing who could navigate trenches the best?
I would say that's probably accurate. It's pro-military, you know, and you know sometimes we gotta take the good and the bad. You know, we gotta train people to hurdle over some barriers, you know, slight drowning risk with the puddles, you know, it's all par for the course, you know.
All right. Well, with that,
we support the troops here on EWF podcast. A vote for steeplechase is a vote for the troops. So.
All right, you heard him. You heard him, folks. You heard him, folks. Let's put in our numbers in the doc and see who comes out on top here.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Dun 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 dun.
No more of that.
I can't think. Jacob.
Sorry, I'm trying to kill time for it. We don't want dead air.
I want to hear Perks singing his interim song.
No, can't do it. I forgot to memorize the
Josh
theme song.
Almost done. And boom. There it is.
All right.
You guys hate the troops.
Hey, don't spoil it, Joseph. Don't spoil it.
I'm sorry.
Scores are in. Scores are in.
The winner, Gabe Toman, with an average score of 8.6. Joseph with a 7.9. It was close, Joseph. It wasn't pretty very far off there. You know, put in a good effort for both of you. Let's go back to the bracket, Dayton, and we will put Gabe in. Well, I guess I was put him in the finals. That's not
still
right.
in the consolation.
He's still in the consolation bracket, but he's on the better half of the consolation bracket. He's moving on to the winner of the following match.
Does this mean I'm gonna have to go first next week too?
Yes, it is, Joseph. It means you'll be going first.
This shit's rigged.
Shit's rigged.
Just have better arguments.
Damn.
I can't go in cold.
Oh my god. All right. Well, with that, Dayton, are we all set to go into match number 2?
We are.
All right, let's get into it. Match number 2 with Jacob and javelin throw versus Perk with corgi racing. I might have gone too fast for that, and I apologize, Dayton.
It was perfect.
All right. Okay, so I'm up first. Let's get into it. All right, everyone. Let's take a step back. Everyone knows that the Olympics are the place where the best of the best from every country go, and we try to see whose country is the best, right? You know, let's have a big dick, measuring contest. Or that's what they want you to think, okay? What the Olympics actually are the training grounds for the inevitable apocalypse. Each event training you to deal with a different part of post-apocalypse living in your life, right? For example, hurdles, how to jump over toxic waste. Long jump, how to long jump over toxic waste. Relay, handing off supplies to your friend. High jump over toxic waste. All right, so all these events, give you something a little bit to survive in the post-apocalypse, right? And but today, we're here talking about which one's the best, right? All of them are helpful, but what is the best event that'll help you survive? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a javelin throw. All right, because it's the only event that teaches you how to kill. All right, Gabe's over here hucking rocks. That's all well and dandy. That's not going to take out a bear that's been drinking toxic waste. All right. You need something with a pointy end to take that thing out, right? So what are you killing with your javelins? You got people that drink toxic waste, animals that drink toxic waste, toxic waste itself when it inevitably mutates and turns into a sentient slime. Okay. You got to be killing a lot of things in the apocalypse, and the javelin throw is the only way you're going to be prepared to do that. Okay. And everyone be like, oh, Jacob, why don't you use guns? Guns are good at killing things. I'm sorry. You think bullets are infinite? You think the bullet factory is going to be operational in a post-apocalypse? No. Overrun with toxic waste, okay? Javelin is a more sustainable option because you can make a javelin out of anything. All you need is a cylinder and something pointy. And you know what? We got a lot of those things. Cylinders, hand railings, chair legs, beer cans, penne noodles, batteries, dildos. All right, we got cylinders for days out here. And then the pointy thing to put in the end, scissors, rocks, kitchen knives, rusty metal, cactuses, the horns and teeth of the animals that drank toxic waste that you've killed with your previous javelins, okay? So you're making javelins for days. You're never going to run out. This event teaches you how to hook them with distance and strength to kill any of your targets. So overall, javelin throw is just the best event. I mean, it's the only way you're going to survive. You need to be able to kill in the post-apocalypse. That's my argument.
All right.
To you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to talk about corgi racing. So let me give you a little background. All right. So corgis actually they first popped up. They were the original pullers of the chariots of the Greek gods. Way back when they were doing it before the gods got horses. And what happened was there was a organized labor dispute, and that's why nobody talks about it because the gods whitewashed that history away. But yeah, so since they're back then, the corgis actually predate the Olympics, which means that corgi racing is legally the first track and field event to ever exist. And it has left a lasting impact around all sorts of sports. I mean, if you just look at the Kentucky Derby, it's actually named after the legendary speedster himself, Kentucky Corgi. Yeah, so he was a real speedster. The little legs, they just keep pumping, But yeah, dogs are cute and friendly. I'm going with an opposite slant. Jacob likes the killing, but corgis are out here just giving love, spreading God's word. Zeus's word, right? Their original dad. Yeah, they're halflings like Percy Jackson. They're the son of Zeus and a stumpy dog. I don't know. But yeah, so like dogs aren't evil like all this killing Jacob's talking about. Like dogs never bombed Japan or knocked down the World Trade Centers. So right there, you already got corgis a head up in the track and field portion. And then yeah, so Jacob's talking about javelin, which yeah, pretty much a killing tool. Actually, little known fact. The javelin is actually named after the javelin missile, which are strictly used to kill children overseas, innocent ones, as a matter of fact. So, if you're a fan of javelins, you're a fan of murdering childs. Yeah, and javelins actually talking again about the throwing tool. They kill 8,000 times as many people annually in accidents than corgis. And just like when you gotta like break it down to all the throwing events, right? Like it, javelin just kind of sucks because shot put, right? So first of all, it's a lot more well-rounded. Pun intended. Yep, thank you. Yeah. So shot put is based on back in World War I when cannonballs were flying all over the place. What you needed to do was if a cannonball came through and knocked off one of your legs, you had to hop around like a dumbass and chuck that cannonball back to show him who's boss. And then like Discus, it's human excellence, human over the topism, because it's shaped like a UFO, which is humans' innate desire to go to space. And then javelins are just like compensating. It's like, what are you compensating for, dog? Throwing that big penis-looking stick around.
I did say you could make a dildo javelin, so.
You could. It probably wouldn't be as affecting at murdering children, but yeah, that's what I got.
Everyone Perks out here saying that javelin is killing people is a bad thing. Is they're all pros to me. Like Dayton said, collateral damage is badass. This thing is a killing machine. It should be good for killing. In the post-apocalypse, when you need to kill things to survive. All right, I don't know what he's talking about here. Yeah, corgi racing. What are we even doing here? What are we doing, people? I mean, Perks out here just picking the most out of left field topic. He's all style, no substance. He's doing what Dayton did last year. All right, no offense, Dayton, but this is a cautionary tale we need to learn from. Year 1, Dayton impresses everyone with his raps, takes him to the victory. Year 2, he tries to do it again. We're like, it's all style, no substance. Get out of here. Same thing's happening to Perk right now. All right, Year 1, he stuns us. Year 2, we're like, all right, you're just picking something to pick something. All right, but even besides that. The corgi race itself, I don't even know how to critique it because it's not even a track and field event. You got dogs racing on a horse track, and he's trying to say it's a human.
You just said track, not a track event. Dumbass.
And corgis, yeah, they're cute. They're not going to help you deal with all the toxic waste in the post-apocalypse. You know, I'm out here just, slaying beasts. Perk's there sitting with his cute dog about to get fucking mauled. And yeah, I think we'll be cute until it drinks toxic waste and it's coming for your, coming to eat you. So, I don't know. Perk's gone too far this time. Not going to help in the post-apocalypse much. It's barely a track and field event. I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I suppose, throwing a big stick around will probably help you out in the apocalypse until I go right ahead and strap a machine gun to the back of my corgi and send him in after you. Your big thrown stick ain't going to do much against machine gun jutsu. Just saying.
Let's get into questions.
Yeah.
Got a question.
Gabe and then Dayton.
This is for Jacob. A majority of your argument is revolved around toxic waste and preparing for battle. The modern Olympics were created before nuclear weapons or nuclear fallout was even an idea. And you can almost argue that javelins are not used as much anymore in combat in general. So I guess my question
to murder children, as Perk brought up.
Except to murder children,
yep.
Yes.
Right.
So I guess my question for you is, how is this event created when, at the time, a nuclear post-apocalyptic world wasn't even possible? And
well, Gabe,
again, how are guns? If you were to give a gun, there's so many guns in America right now. Everybody can have a gun, and there's plenty of ammo to go around for at least a couple of years if this were to even happen. So I just want to know, what your perspective is on this event happening and why people would choose javelins.
That's a great question, Gabe. Now, as you say, the Olympics were created before nuclear war was even a possibility. However, these will train you for any type of apocalypse. I mean, everything I said applies to a zombie apocalypse as well, right? If the sun explodes and it's like a scorched wasteland, we're still going to have things you're going to need to kill. You need to hunt, right? So this is really applicable to any apocalypse. I coned in toxic waste because that's most prevalent to our, world today. And also, you played a Fallout game, toxic waste everywhere, right? So we know what we're expecting to see. With respect to your guns, like I said, yeah, you're going to have bullets for a bit. You're not going to continue to manufacture bullets. At some point, you're going to run it out, and you're like, oh, we'll have some for 3 years. What? The apocalypse is over after 3 years, never go back to normal? No, apocalypse is forever, all right? You need a sustainable weapon to get you through humanity, and the only sustainable option is a javelin.
I mean, in Fallout, they did pretty good with guns.
Yeah, but it's a video game. It's not real, Gabe. I'm talking about reality here.
Okay. Reality, where this toxic waste apocalypse is going on. No, you say sustainable, but you will die of exposure just hunting that shit down because you have one and you throw it and then you gotta go run over and get it. You're gonna die of exhaustion before you.
I gave you so many options of things to make javelins out of. You're not gonna have one. You have a whole fucking backpack of them. Dildo javelin, wooden javelin, handrail javelin. I mean, you got what we're doing here. Molly, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Dayton first. Dayton first, and then Molly.
Whatever.
Oh, no, that's fine. Molly just said it. How much javelin weigh? As much as you want, Molly. Sometimes you need a heavy-duty one to take out a big bear. Maybe you got a little tiny game made out of penne noodles to take down some spiders or something. You can really just make them as your needs.
So how much can you carry then?
I mean, yeah, you got a maybe a big backpack. You got a bunch of big ones in there. Maybe put some little ones in your pockets. You can do quite a bit. Dayton, you got a question?
Yeah, so I've got a question for each of you. So I guess I'll start off with yours, Jacob. So how well do you think a corgi would fare in a post-apocalyptic world? And then what would be your preferred method of dealing with corgis in post-apocalyptic worlds? What's your ideal javelin?
Right. So here's the thing. Dogs are good at surviving. But as soon as that thing drinks some toxic waste, it's going to mutate. It's going to become a monster. We don't want that. So I think right when the apocalypse starts, we should kill all the corgis and use their bones to make javelins. I think they're best used as javelin parts. That pretty much sums up the entire answer right there. Let's just get rid of it off the bat before they mutate and turn into something.
Chernobyl.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
go around and murder all the dogs.
All right, and then Perk. You had mentioned that corgis were the precursors to horses for chariots. So if gods were making these, why did they make these dogs with such little damn legs?
So they can sneakily get under shit, obviously.
But wouldn't that clothesline the chariot?
Wouldn't it what?
Clothesline the chariot?
What do you mean?
If the dogs can get under it, the chariot can't.
Oh, good call. No, that they were invented stealthily.
Okay.
And then they were used as the secondary purpose was dragging around chariots.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not they're invented. It's not like Zeus fucked a dog and then these kind of happened, and now you're trying to retroactively try to figure out what to do with them.
He was known to fuck a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, he got around. Like, he not exactly a.
I don't know why, but I imagine the chariots like U-Hauls with like low loading decks, but so that they can accommodate like the small ones.
No, and Jacob wants to kill all the corgis, but the corgis have the ultimate super counter to javelins, moving like 3 feet to the right. Also, how are you even going to track them down? You said yourself, like as soon as the apocalypse breaks out, everyone dives into the woods. You're not catching a corgi in the woods. No, corgis they were born in the woods. You were merely crafted by it. And you're gonna try and throw a goddamn dildo taped to a PVC pipe in a crowded wooded area at a tiny dog that can scamper? I don't think so.
I wasn't crafted by the woods. I'm crafting in the woods. I'm making dildos in the woods out of all the trees. All right. Anyway, I said dildos. I meant javelins.
You're gonna make a dildo in the woods.
You need both.
You really set up this whole dildo thing.
I mean, I'm saying it's a cylindrical object. All right. I mean, we got to use everything we can. All right. Let's get into voting here.
What was the topic for this week?
Don't worry about it. All right. People are putting in their numbers, and I am killing time as I like to do. Almost done. One more number from Josh, and there we go.
All right, scores are in.
Jacob wins with a score of 8.3. Perk narrowly behind with 7.9, which means next week it'll be Jacob versus Gabe in the good consolation match, and the bad one it's Joseph versus Perk.
Rematch of the inverse of last year.
Yeah, rematch of the grand final in the.
That's really hilarious. All right. Before we get into, let's update the bracket. Update the bracket.
Yep.
Before we move on, does anyone need to go to the bathroom or take any breaks, or are we good? Want to make sure.
I need to go cry in the corner for like 10 minutes. That's cool.
You can do that on camera. It's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree with Gabe.
I'll just mute.
All right. Dane, has the bracket been updated?
Yeah, we don't need to because they're consolation matches.
Because they don't matter.
Yes.
Well, let's get into the matches that do matter. Let's get into match number 3, aka semifinal number 1, where we have Molly with the marathon versus Emily with race walking. Molly is up first.
All right. So, marathons, they're the best thing ever. I've done one and I have signed up for a couple more this year. So why are they great? First, physical aspects. Your legs become very toned and muscular. You develop abs. I have developed quite a nice set of abs as well as toned legs. You have increased aerobic fitness, so your heart rate lowers. You have a high VO2 max. Helps your immune system, so lowers blood pressure if you have high blood pressure, and helps with high cholesterol. It also, marathon training, best sleep of your life. Like, I could probably sleep for about 10 hours and wake up so peaceful and ready to run the next day. And then a big perk is you can eat tons of food. I think peak marathon training, you're eating like 8 meals a day, and that even includes eating while you run. And then there's the mental aspects of marathon running. So it's a great stress reducer. You create new friends where you can talk obsessively about running with your other marathon and running friends. And you also just have a great sense of accomplishment. Best feeling is after a long run. And the best part about marathon is the race. You get free shirts, medals, huge medals. They probably weigh about 2 pounds. You get free booze. So you have people on the sidelines. They just give you beer. I've had shots. Well, I didn't take a shot. I drank the beer because that was a good source of carbs. They have shots. They have Bloody Marys. You also get food. So I've had donut holes from, Tim Hortons, and bananas. Then there was the most interesting one was pickle juice, but full of electrolytes. I don't like pickles, but it was a good bit to eat. And then the last part is the attire. Like, you just keep getting running shoes, and running shoes are probably the comfiest shoes ever. Like, they have a ton of cushion, and they're starting to look really cool too. Have you seen the Nike ones? I think they're pretty cool looking. And closing words is you're basically viewed as a superhero once you say you're a marathon runner, and you just get some mad respect from people.
There we go. Love it. Emily, you're up.
All right. I wish I could just jump right into my rebuttal after that, but that's okay. So we're going to start out talking about race walking, formerly known as pedestrianism. So let's just keep that in mind. But it's a competitive form of athletic walking, pretty self-explanatory, but currently it's an Olympic sport, surprisingly, right? I thought that was pretty cool. Both a 20-kilometer and a 50-kilometer, so actually 31 miles. It's the longest single event race in the Olympics today, which actually is longer than a marathon. What I found most interesting is that there's 2 really specific rules that our pedestrians have to follow, which is why they get that funny walking pattern, which is definitely part of the entertainment of the race. I mean, did you guys look it up? Did you see like the little hip swivel? They actually have to have 1 foot in contact with the ground at all times, but the caveat is that it only has to be visible to the human eye. So there's actually about 40 milliseconds where you can actually like trick the judges into that, like your eye can't actually process it moving that fast. And the best runners out there are actually like able to like trick the speed of light, if you will, with how fast they can move their feet. And the other rule is that their leg must be straight from the moment it hits the ground until it passes under their hip. So for those of us like myself who are really interested in biomechanics, walking racing is one of the most like interesting biomechanic, hip mechanic, knee mechanic things going on out there. There's actually multiple judges, so there's few races that actually have judges out there who monitor these rules. You get 3 warnings, which I thought was pretty fair. You have to get 3 warnings from 3 separate judges and a red flag before being kicked out of the race. How many races can you get kicked out of mid-race? So basically, this disqualification of runners makes the race suspenseful and exciting because there's never really a clear winner because anybody can get disqualified. Because of the rules, it has some serious biomechanics involved, and the walking technique is strategic and skillful. This is no mindless walking event here. We are walking with skill. I want to point out, Perk, that actually race walking is the oldest sport. So sorry about the corgis, but shortly after the Big Bang, about 5.5 million years ago, humans evolved, and after they could crawl, they started to walk. After they learned to walk, they started to compete for sport. There was no next steps. There was no running involved. It was like, you can walk faster, I can walk faster. The first written record is actually 2500 BC, but due to that like competitive human monkey brain nature, it's likely we were challenging each other to walk from day 1, right out of the gate, right out of the Big Bang, right after that happened. Old depictions of race walking are actually set in the traditional gladiator coliseums around the outer ring of the arena when the gladiators were actually fighting in the middle. People were race walking along, and this is documented in all sorts of literature. But the sport was actually formalized in the 18th and 19th century Europe when noblemen riders were in their carriages and they were actually betting on whose footmen could get to town fastest to get set up for the day. So I thought that was really interesting. And then this actually started gambling as we know it today. So people were betting, and then the footmen actually decided, well, hey, if I can make money doing this, why don't we just do it more competitively? Hence the sport along the track. Race walking joined the Olympics in 1904, and outside of the Olympics is currently a World Athletics race walking team championships. That's a mouthful, but basically there's all sorts of championships along the world where people are race walking. Lastly, actually walking is a better form of low impact cardiovascular exercise, but it's not slow nor boring. The average pace for a race walker is 7.7 miles per hour. And compared to the average marathon time, which is around 6 miles per hour, so not too far off. I want to leave you with this. Remember, we have to learn to walk before we can run.
Wow. All right. Let's go back to
That's impressive.
Molly for a rebuttal.
So first of all, the marathon runners in the Olympics, they run around 10 miles per hour, so they're still faster than your average walker in the Olympics. And then, second of all, do you ever hear about the Olympians that did the speed walking? Like, I don't know anybody that has speed walked in the Olympics. I've seen a quick glimpse of it, but I've never really looked to see who's won it, and so you never hear about the speed walkers. And that's basically my rebuttal.
All right, let's go back to Emily.
Oh gosh, I gotta start by saying I really couldn't name a speed walker winner, but I also could not name a marathon winner, so I mean, beats me. But have we devised any greater waste of time or energy than running a marathon? No. 500,000 Americans annually could do something truly beneficial for themselves or their neighbors or this country as a whole, but instead they run, and they'll run some more. Have you ever met somebody who's run a marathon? It's literally all they talk about, and it's all they do. Running a marathon is actually dangerous, okay? 1 in 12 participants, and this is a true fact, 1 in 12 participants end up seeking medical help during the race. Consistently running long distances like a marathon and training for a marathon, because it's all you have to do every waking second, increases your risk of osteoarthritis, overuse injuries, muscular damage, and kidney disease. Consistent training for a marathon might increase a person's risk to also heart disease due to scarring on the heart and excessive stress. So this is not decreasing stress, Molly. Your stress levels are skyrocketing during a marathon. Your body is in consistent fight or flight mode for the whole 26 miles. And this is every day you have to run, right? It's so much running. And actually, a person's chance increases of going into cardiac arrest during the race.
That was me waving my white flag.
It's not over till it's over, Molly. We still got questions. But Emily, please continue.
Just to me, this sounds so much more like self-abuse than self-improvement. But running a marathon is an epidemic. There's actually been 56 reported deaths during a marathon, and this excludes terrorist attacks. The history of the marathon is based on a myth or legend, actually, and in the legend, he dies anyways when he gets to the end. There's like a messenger. He dies after he runs 26 miles. For what? Lastly, and most importantly, I want to stress that marathons are mainstream and overrated. Molly, yes, nobody has heard of run walking because it's cool. It's the new thing. Marathons overrated. They have turned into a symbol of capitalism and a dog and pony show. At each event, there's an enormous amount of t-shirts, freebies, bags, vendors, costumes, and corporate sponsorship everywhere you look. You cannot escape it at this marathon. Like you said, you were handed a beer. You don't need a beer to run. Some sponsor-ass bullshit. But businesses thrive on the marathon culture, selling us the newest sports drink, the highest cal food that's good for you when you run, and those specialty running shoes that you mentioned. Yeah, corporate. Running might be efficient, but at higher risk of injuries, higher correlation to mainstream corporate bullshit, and in order to run, you have to start out by walking anyways.
All right.
Well said.
let's
was
open up
heated.
questions. We got Perk first, and then Dayton.
All right, so Emily, you called a marathon a vast waste of time. Didn't you also say that race walking is longer and slower?
I did.
Is it not more time wasted?
I do. I want to point out that there's so much training that goes in with a marathon. You actually have to run more than 26 miles before you can do it the first time, right? So we have all been walking for years. It's something like, yes, this is really specific and skillful. However, the training is not nearly as long and intense. So it's just a waste of time, not the marathon itself, but all the training that goes up to it.
I want to put a point in that your highest mileage is usually 20 miles of running before doing a marathon. So
I
that's
did-
That is
6.2.
true. That is true.
It is, but there's people who run more than that, like ultra marathons or something. So who's
Yeah,
to
we
say?
don't
Is that-
need those.
Is that what
idiots
we're
that do
talking
that.
about today? And yet, we don't need about that. Dayton, your question.
Yeah, this is for Molly. So you mentioned that basically like people look at you like a superhero if you run a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
What does that make the people that have run ultra marathons?
Losers.
Basically gods, you know?
Dayton, you did like 2 more miles than a marathon. All right.
No, I didn't, dude. And it was in the mountains, bitch.
I think he just wanted someone to call him a god.
That's
That's what he
what
needed
I'm
to
down
do.
That's
It's
all
not even
the
a
I'm-
question. It's just
after.
Molly, call me a god, please.
I have a question for Emily, then we'll go to you, Joseph.
Go ahead.
Molly spoke a lot in her argument about the benefits to oneself by doing a marathon. You said that maybe there's also some negatives, but I want to ask you, if I run a marathon, I'm getting health benefits and a bunch of free shit. What do I get for race walking? How does this improve my life?
Definitely. So you can actually race walk a lot longer. Like you'll live a lot longer. Your joints will thank you a lot longer. So you're getting extended health benefits. I would say marathon running, for the next 10 years, if you keep it up, you won't be having those benefits anymore. Let me tell you, your joints will not be happy. But we all do walking. We could all walk a little faster. And I think I don't want to dig into it too much, but actually there's a statistic out there that says if you walk below a certain speed, your chance of death at an earlier age is so much higher. So if we start walking a little faster, we could potentially extend our lifespan. And that to me is worth more than a freebie gift bag or whatever.
And if I made a quick follow-up, Molly mentioned that if you run a marathon, people call you a superhero or possibly a god. But I think if I'm race walking, people will laugh at me. Is that accurate?
Certainly. All press is good press.
Okay. Joseph, your question.
So a question for Emily. You mentioned that marathon involves a lot of training.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say about? I can't find the exact instance, but there's an episode of How I Met Your Mother where character Barney runs a marathon, 0 training, and I think he obviously placed and he got a medal and did pretty well. What do you have to say about that?
I have to say that's fiction. In real life, without training for a marathon, your risk of cardiovascular attack, like dying on the spot, is significantly increased. He's a great character, but he should have.
So, follow up to that, Bert Kreischer, famous comedian known as The Machine, ran a marathon with very little training, and he is not a healthy guy. And I think he only trained for like 2-3 weeks, I believe. And he claims to have the Mickey Mantle gene, which is, possibly disputed, but so there are instances of little training involved in the marathon. I just want
guess I
to
don't
hear
know
what you
his
have to say about that.
story. I would say I don't know his
Okay.
story, but I would imagine that he probably didn't have a great experience. I have not run a marathon. If I were to, I imagine I wouldn't feel great. So I bet he spent a little, the few days recovering from that, right? And maybe a month or a week too, I can't imagine it felt
Probably
good.
how you feel if you did that with race walking too.
Maybe, but I walked pretty fast on the bus in Chicago, and I felt pretty good when I got on that bus. It felt like
Were
race
you
walking.
going 7.2 miles per hour?
Sure felt like it.
All right. Do you have any other questions before we go to scoring? All right. Let's do it. Oh, that was a tough one. Guys.
Good round, Emily.
Yeah, I felt so intimidated because you actually run a marathon. I guess and Dayton too. I don't know if any of y'all have, but I was like a little nervous today going, I gotta get my facts right.
The only
came out
fact
with
that you
good
messed
ones.
up. The only fact that
I
you messed
know.
up was the training one, saying that you have to run longer than it.
See, and my friends who did were like, yeah, we have to do so much and blah, blah, blah. And I just figured it was like more than the marathon itself.
All right, we are almost set.
Oof, I'm nervous.
And Perk press enter, I think.
Oh, really? Sorry.
On that.
Yep.
God damn it, Perk.
There we
All
go.
right, scores are in.
Oof.
Scores are in. Our victor is Emily with a score of 8.1 over Molly with 7.4.
Good job, Molly. Good
Not that far
carry.
off. Not that
job.
far off. So Emily will be
No.
moving on to the finals. Molly will be going to, I guess, the third place match. I don't know. The bracket's kind of weird. It's single elimination. It doesn't matter. Emily moving on to the finals. So Dayton, let's update that hot bracket.
You got it.
While Dayton's doing that.
So I gotta
Like I
vote
say,
wisely next round. That's what I'm
And we're about to get into the possibly most just weird ass round of the day. I don't know. I'm not sure if these two have up their sleep, but it's gonna be some dumb shit.
Quick note on that last one. I'm impressed with Emily's argument because race walking is lame as shit.
But they do look silly. I'll say that.
They look hilarious. But yeah, I was one. It was a good argument for sure.
I say the matches today have been very close. If you look at the scores, I mean, we're not
know.
seeing a lot of spread. So I can
That's what
definitely
makes me
improve on
nervous.
last week.
I was, like I said, I was seriously getting warm. I was like, it's gonna be so nervous.
All right, Dayton, are we ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Let's get into our final match of the day, semifinal number 2, where we have Dayton with the 200-meter dash versus Josh with the pole vault. Dayton, you are starting.
All right, yeah. So, similar to Joseph, I'm not going to go too much into the history of it. I just want to share really 2 little quick tidbits. The first is that it was originally raced as the Stadion, and it was actually raced on a straight track, except due to recent inclusivity standards, they changed it to a curved track. So we're not only targeting the straight crowd. And it also has an incredibly long history of performance-enhancing drugs. All right, these people are willing to put their bodies on the line to run 200 meters. I guarantee you, every one of you has run 200 meters. Okay, these people are willing to risk their life for it. Okay, that's pretty fucking badass. All right. And, as coming from somebody who has, raced the 200 meter a handful of times, back in my day, this is not an event that's only based upon speed, but also upon endurance and your strategy as to how to maximize the both of them. All right. Careful consideration must be taken for the long straightaway in the last 100 meters after the curve. All right. You have to balance your speed with your endurance. You can't burn through your entire tank of gas before you get to the straightaway. That's when you turn the jets on, the afterburners, and you really let her eat. All right. And even with all that said, the strategy, right? It's very individual, and you would expect there would be, a lot of contention with the world records. Well, actually, the world record has not been topped since 2009, when Usain Bolt ran his in 1919 seconds. All right, that is wicked fast. All right, and to put it in perspective, the women's world record, similar to I think the discus record, hasn't been beaten since the 1980s. So I don't know. Maybe they need to jack up their use of performance-enhancing drugs or something. I don't know. That's all I got to say to that. And I think the last major point that I want to talk about with the 200 meter is that it's incredibly simple. All right. Like I said, anybody has run a 200 meter. All right. You don't even need fucking shoes. You don't even need to run on the track. You just sprint 200 meters. It's freaking straightforward as shit. And honestly, it's very inclusive. All right. None of you so far have talked about the Paralympics. They got it. Paralympics got the 200 meter, all right? They even have it for wheelchair folks, all right? Have you ever seen a race wheelchair before? These things haul ass. The current world record for the 200 meter for the wheelchair is 27.98 seconds, all right? I guarantee you that right now, all of us would run it slower than that. All right? And if you look at the design and the engineering of these wheels, these beautiful wheels, these wheelchairs are practically the fucking F1 vehicles of the Paralympics, all right? These things have to be engineered to take a curve, right? And then you have to also change it so that it can go straight. Have you ever tried piloting a wheelchair while going, I don't know, I didn't do the math. I'm sorry, I didn't do the math. 27.98 seconds divided by 200 meters, and then you got your fucking meters per second bullshit. That's fast as fuck, boy. All right, have you ever tried to steer and, crank your wheelchair as fast as fuck while going that fast? No. The last time I tried to do that, I was in a garbage can going down a hill, and I just freaking ate shit. All right? And, I think I'm just going to leave it there. Josh, let's hear it.
Thanks, Dayton. All right. I'm going to get into it. Okay, so I chose pole vault. And the reason I chose pole vault is because it's similar to games where it's like there's this primordial joy that you get from being launched into the air. I mean, think about it. So if you're a parent and you want to show your child a good time, your little toddler a good time, one of the first things you're going to think of is, I'm going to throw my baby in the air and probably catch them. And they love it. Babies love that shit. Toddlers love that shit. And so I'm guessing with the Olympics, they're like, all right, let's make that into a sport. So they come up with high jump, and they get high jump. And then some genius is thinking, all right, let's take this one step further. Let's raise the stakes. And they give someone a pole and say, all right, launch yourself even higher. And that's my second point is it's a high stakes, high rewards. If you mess up in that and you don't land on the mat, you're done. Your life has changed. You're done. You're going to be really, really hurt. But if you make it, all the riches and all the power in the world are yours for the taking. And my third and final point is top. Okay, I'm gonna say top moment track and field ever. Top moment track and field ever. Best video. This guy going to launch himself pole vaulting. He launches himself over the thing, and he turns, and his pole, his appendage, his package, hits the thing, the bar, and knocks it over. So the pole, his own pole, betrayed him in the pole vault. And that's amazing. That could not happen in any other event. Thank you.
I love it. Dayton, we go to rebuttal. Before you start, I did the quick maths because I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
And that world record time, they were going about 16 miles per hour.
16 mile an hour. That's pretty fucking fast.
That's not me saying support for any certain side. I just want to give the raw facts. All right.
Right.
Comparing to our marathon and race walking match previously.
Yeah. So Josh, I gotta say, I'm actually very disappointed that you brought up the pole vault where the guy, scratched because his cock got in the way. I'm not gonna paint it. Paint the picture in your mind like you did. With that said, though, that's the only event where you're actively discriminated against for having a large penis. All right. Honestly, I think that's kind of shitty. My second point, pole vault's too fucking complicated, all right? You got these people and like, well, actually, I need to have an 18.8192 pole made out of carbon fiber with an elastic modulus of 7 gigapascals so I can clear this height, all right? It's too fucking complicated, all right? Just get on your feet and run 200 meters, or in the Paralympics case, just, roll 200 meters. And you talked about it's a primordial urge to jump over rivers. This was actually invented by the Dutch, all right? I know you have a vested interest here, but come on. The 200 meter has been in our genes since we were walking, right? As Emily put it, since the Big Bang 5.5 billion years ago. I think that was her number. And actually, you kind of led into my last rebuttal point, in that it's actually the most likely event to get injured in. All right, that would be great and all. You get injured in your event and you can join the Paralympics. Oh, wait, sorry, the Paralympics don't include the pole vault? Come on, it's the 21st century. I thought we were all about inclusivity here. We changed the track from a straight track to a curved track to not rule out anybody. What the hell?
There we go. Back to you, Josh.
He looks frozen.
He looks frozen.
Frozen in fear.
Frozen in fear.
Okay. All right.
There
All
we go, he's
right.
back.
So, all right. First thing I want to say about your rebuttal is you said I said some shit about jumping over rivers. I never said that. And don't ever think that I said that. And I think someone is feeding you lines into your headphones because I didn't say that. I don't know who did. Okay? But I'm tired of this. And, okay, so you're saying all this stuff about inclusivity and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The whole purpose of me watching a sport, if I'm going to, is because not everyone is included. Only the best of the best of the best. That's what I'm gonna watch. I don't care your, straight, curved, whatever orientation. I don't care. I'm gonna watch the best of the best. I'm not gonna watch someone. How about this for inclusivity? Blade Runner. That guy ran. He also killed his girlfriend or wife or something.
Allegedly.
Like I don't need that. I don't. Allegedly, I don't care. Whatever. I don't care. Either way,
He's in jail.
Inclusivity doesn't have a spot in sports. It doesn't. That's how it always has worked. It's always the best of the best.
All right.
I think that's all I got.
Let's open up for questions. Emily, you can start.
Dayton, I gotta know. First of all, why 200? There are a lot of races out there, so why 200? But my more important question is, pole vaulting is such a spectacle, and it's fun to watch. What makes the 200 fun to watch?
Yeah. So your first question, why did I choose the 200? And it was a strategic option because I knew that Josh could not clown me on it for high school track and field performance, because he has witnessed me.
You're insecure.
He has witnessed me run the 200 meters faster when I was a pure thrower than a pure sprinter did, who was actually a part of his relay team for one of his relays. So that's why I chose it. Trenton Kronemeyer.
Oh, okay.
Don't put the guy on blast.
Don't worry.
What's his address?
Don't worry. I got his social security number too.
It's on the screen.
And the spectacle of it is just pure, just like physicalness, right? It's just you got to run fast. All right, you got to run fast. Except you have to have the knowledge to run fast enough to beat somebody, but also remain. Have enough gas in the tank to finish it out strong.
All right, thank you.
Other questions, Gub?
Yeah, this is for Dayton. Do you think they're running from something? Like,
toxic waste, Gabe. Toxic waste.
Toxic waste. Yeah, I mean, if we're keeping with the lore that Jacob brought into this world, they're trying to run away from actually corgis that escaped the extermination event and have since become both simultaneously inbred and mutated. You don't want to see it.
And Josh, do you think they're jumping from something?
Oh shit! Can you say it again?
Do you think that they're jumping from something? They're trying to
no, that's the thing is, I've never heard of anyone pole vaulting away from the police. I'll say that much.
Oh man. All right, any other final questions before we vote? Molly.
Okay, Josh, you said you want to watch the best of the best. So you have the best of the best in pole vault as well as in the 200 meter. So I don't get your argument with best of the best. Can you please?
That was my
clarify?
argument against. That was my argument against his inclusivity argument.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
Joseph.
Yeah, I'm anti-inclusivity, by the way.
That was my question. That was my question.
And that's
Is
the answer,
you're
yeah.
against
Got that one figured out.
inclusivity and also apparently the LGBTQ community, because that was part of Dayton's argument that you.
Well, I never
shot
explicitly
down.
said that.
Yeah,
They
but
use
that's what you
straight
implied. You know, I gotta say you were really fighting against that.
Wait, but
too,
don't
as
they
well.
use straight
It wasn't
poles?
explicit. It wasn't explicit
They do exclusively use straight poles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
bend, though.
they bendy. Yeah, they bend.
until
a
you
little.
bend them. Until
Yeah,
you bend
but then
them.
they just bend back to straight at the end of
It's
the day.
just a phase, I guess.
Isn't that just a? I mean, yeah, yeah.
I
Oh yeah, go ahead, Molly.
I have one more question. Okay. So who is the best pole vaulter, Josh? And then who is the best 200-meter dasher that goes to Dayton?
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to answer first?
Yeah.
Yeah, Usain Bolt. He's got the world record right now. For a while, his second split was actually faster than his first split. That just shows that he keeps on speeding up through the first 100 meters. This man's a feat of nature.
Josh, you know who the most famous pole vaulter is?
Yeah, Tim Matthews.
All right, there we go.
And did you just look that up, or?
Oh, dude, I honestly can't do anything except for look at you guys because my phone is so slow. So.
Let me ask one more question, then we'll go into voting here.
Okay.
Dayton, I want to speak to you about the fun factor, okay? Because here's the thing. Pole vaulting, I've never done it. Looks really fun. Watching it, very fun. 200 meter, I've run 200 meter. It fucking sucks ass. That race is so painful and not fun. And watching it, yeah, it's cool. It's not pole vault. So Dayton, what do you think about the fun factor of the 200 meter?
It's all about the work that you put into it. All right, that's the short answer. The long answer is pure domination. All right, you get to race next to these MFers, and you get to be like, "Damn, I'm faster than you. Y'all suck ass." All right, pole vault. You're not trying to fucking pole vault 4 people at the same time against a fucking rod, whatever you fucking call it. No. It's much more of a domination aspect in the 200 meter than the pole vault. Yeah.
Okay. I got you. And sorry, Perk, did you have one thing you wanted to ask?
No, we're good.
All right. Let's go to scoring. Final match of the day. Who will move on to the finals?
Wow, Perk.
The staunch anti-inclusivity. It's a bit of a knock on.
Yeah, that hit hard.
All right. Dayton, our scores up.
All right, scores are in.
Dayton will return to the finals with a score of 8.7. Josh with a 7.0. So it'll be Dayton versus Emily. Was that the same final as year one?
Year one.
Wait, are
Was it
Josh
really?
and Perk going against each other again?
Yeah, and then
No.
No, Molly
me
and
and-
Josh. Molly and
Okay,
Josh.
okay.
Yeah, me and Joseph are rematching.
That's
Yep.
it. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're getting
from the Super Bowl to the toilet
two
bowl.
previous championship rematches next week, I believe, if
Wow.
I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Pedigree.
Yeah,
Highest
well-
score of the day.
Will Emily be able to get the crown finally, or will Dayton get his second victory?
Ooh.
We'll find out next week when we compete in Mascot Maelstrom, trying to figure out who is the best mascot. And I'm very excited to see what everyone pulls out of their hat for that one, because the options are limitless. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching and listening, and until next week, bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah.
Hey.